The purpose of AGI's work in Liberia is to build the skills, the systems and the structures that make the president more effective. Initially we did that mostly in her office, focusing on scheduling, communication and delivery in the president's office. After 2 years we decided the time had come to broaden our reach, and we now work with a number of other central government ministries like the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Public Works, to build the skills, systems and structures required to implement the President's priorities. And the priorities that we work on are infrastructure, private sector development and the management of natural resources.
What we felt was really unique about the approach of AGI is the fact that they worked so close to governments, really at the heart of governments, and strengthening capacity in order to be able to implement nationwide development policy plans. And I think that is the success of AGI. It's the fact that they have staff that come from a great variety of backgrounds. They're all very personal committed. They work side by side with their counterparts in government, helping to strengthen the capacity in order for the governments and the countries to implement changes and policies. And this brings about a great positive change on a national level, which for instance is done in Liberia, where AGI is supporting President Johnson Sirleaf in a 150-day plan.
In late 2011, President Sirleaf's team won re-election and faced the challenge of differentiating her new government from the previous one. So they decided to create a 150-day action plan in which they committed themselves to certain very specific, tangible items that had to be accomplished between January and June 2012 as a way of getting the government off to a good start and keeping the momentum going from the election period. AGI was involved in the plan at 2 phases during the plan's development. The first was immediately after the President's election victory, in which we got together with her and some of her senior team to focus on what should be in a 150-day plan, how it should be communicated, how it should be implemented. And we recommended that they put together a steering committee to draft the contents of the plan, and we facilitated the operations of that committee. The plan was then launched in January 2012, and then we got involved in the implementation in a much more light touch way. What we did there was to make sure that the steering committee overseeing the implementation of the plan met regularly, that they communicated the achievements of the plan to the media, and at the end of the plan period produced a report explaining what had been achieved and what had remained to be achieved. The government claimed a completion rate of 74% at the end of the period. You can quibble about the details, but it was a pretty successful plan, and even the items that weren't implemented during that period were implemented fairly shortly afterwards.
In terms of helping to design what the 150-day and its evaluation would look like, AGI was involved. They were involved in terms of assisting and providing guidance on what the terms of reference for the task force, the steering committee would be, and then simply in terms of tracking performance on the different issues, AGI was involved. And so I think, again, because they were there, it was a net positive. It was a net positive. And now that we're done with the 150 days, that we're beginning to apply the same principles to the next year and the next 3 years. I think their continued involvement, because AGI is still in the country, their continued involvement is simply going to make us even more better at delivering services and executing our development agenda.